The Idaho House has passed a bill that would make it a felony for physicians to provide sex reassignment surgeries or puberty blockers or hormone treatment to transgender teens under the age of 18. The bill now heads to the Idaho State Senate amid desperate warnings from opponents who say this will lead to an increase in suicide rates among transgender teens. I'm joined now by Eve Devitt, a transgender teen in Idaho who is directly impacted by this bill, and her father, Michael Devitt. Thanks to both of you for being here. I know this is not necessarily what a 17-year-old wants to be doing on a Tuesday. And Eve, you testified before Idaho lawmakers on February 7th. I just want to run a little bit of what you said about that bill.
In less than 24 hours, I will be going on a plane to go to a consultation for SRS, or sexual reassignment surgery, which is planned to be taking place in a little over a year. I see this as my final step into the body that I should have been born into. This bill threatens to not only bar me from receiving this care, but also from accessing the hormones that have single-handedly not only improved, but saved my life.
What do you mean by saved your life? Not just improved, but saved your life?
I mean, okay, so before I went on testosterone blockers and then estrogen, I was in like the worst mental state of my life because I saw going through male puberty as this irreversible and horribly terrifying thing that would stop me from being able to live the life that I should have been able to, you know? And so it was absolutely horrifying. And I truly do believe that I would have ended up killing myself if I wasn't able to access that.
Michael, a lot of people who testified pointed out the conflict between the bill and Republican lawmakers' statements on other matters of support for parental rights and freedom. One GOP state lawmaker said that Idaho law says some choices are abusive or inappropriate, even for a parent. How do you respond to that?
It's really hard, honestly. I mean, we live in a state that values parental rights and religious freedom, yet the authors of this bill make it really clear that the only parental rights they are in favor of are those that they agree with, and religious freedom, the only thing they agree with is beliefs that they agree with. So as a family of faith and as parents who take parenting seriously, I never thought the state of Idaho would be our biggest enemy and trying to step between us and our kids and raising them.
So, Eve, one of the arguments you hear from opponents of body-altering treatments is that they should wait until you're an adult, 18. Why are they wrong?
Well, because you can't wait until you're an adult, because for the vast majority of trans kids, they won't be adults without this treatment. I wouldn't have made it past like 14 if I didn't have that treatment.
Because you would take your own life, is what you mean?
Yeah.
So, Michael, your daughter started estrogen about 3 years ago. Where do you think she would be right now if she had not had access to this treatment? And what is your message to the people watching right now who don't understand, who don't get it?
Well, let me start with that. I didn't get it either. I didn't understand right away either. And so I totally get it. But I would say to them, let's not make understanding a prerequisite for loving people and allowing them to live the lives that they feel led to live. But I don't think any of us can understand what Eve's going through, but Eve can understand what I'm going through as a parent or an adult or a physical therapist. So I think that isn't as big of a deal as we make it.
And Eve, this bill would subject physicians to felony charges if they provide puberty blockers or hormone treatments or gender-affirming surgeries to transgender minors. You've been treated by physicians with some of those treatments. Are you worried about physicians in Idaho?
I'm terrified. Yeah. It would be absolutely devastating, not only to me, but to so many other trans people living in Idaho, so many trans kids living in Idaho, and so many physicians who just want to be able to give their patients these treatments that have been
legal for so long and that are tested and proven to work.
Jake, if I may, this is evidence-based medicine we're talking about, and the witnesses that the proponents of this bill brought in were really fringy characters that were literally suggesting things that flew completely in the face of the AMA and the American Academy of Pediatrics. I mean, this is a skilled group. I think they probably could have found astronauts against space travel if they'd looked hard enough. And the thing of it is, that's setting the standard of care in Idaho to be fringy, as opposed to evidence-based medicine, which my wife, who's a physician, and I love our kids too much to subject them to fringy medicine.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that comes across, and there's certainly debates that can be had about girls' athletics and things like that, but when it comes to the cruelty that we see in this debate so often, the meanness about some of the most vulnerable people in our society, it's really just remarkable and not how any faith teaches us to behave.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you brought that up, because the reason why people are subjecting kids like me, trans kids, to this this harsh antagonism is because we are the most vulnerable group right now that are okay to attack. Because before it was trans kids, it was gay kids. For that, it was gay adults. And so as those things have become more normalized, they can't attack that group anymore. And so we're just next on the chopping block, really.
I just remember hearing this story about George W. Bush when he was president, and he had a transgender classmate. You've probably heard it. But
Yeah.
I guess they had the Yale 25th reunion or whatever it was at the White House. And the transgender woman said, "You might not remember me," I guess they were in the line, "You might not remember me because back when I was at Yale, I was so-and-so." And then President Bush, not known for being a huge supporter of LGBTQ rights at the time, said, "And now you're you." I thought that was a special story. Even Michael Devitt, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for your courage coming on today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having
listening.
us.
Appreciate it.
And if you or anyone you know needs help, please call or text the Suicide Crisis Lifeline at 988.